So let's talk about the Woodruff Cutter. So the Woodruff Cutter, it's very similar to the T-slot cutter, right? But the Woodruff Cutter is designed to be used primarily as a key seat cutter. So Woodruff Cutters are usually of the straight tooth, as you see here, right? See how the teeth are vertical? Or the staggered tooth. And here's, again, the example of one tooth with the positive rake, one tooth with a negative rake, and so forth around the periphery. Now, the Woodruff Cutter, it only cuts on the periphery of the tool. Okay, so this is an important difference between the Woodruff Cutter and a T-slot cutter. It only cuts on the periphery. It has no side cutting action whatsoever. The side of the Woodruff Cutter is flat. Okay, really, it has a minimal amount of clearance. It can't be perfectly flat, right? We've got to have a little bit of clearance there, obviously, as we don't want that tool to bind as it goes through the material. Now, the Woodruff Cutter, as we said before, it's designed with, the purpose is to cut keyways, Woodruff keyways. It has a little bit more of a tolerance attached to it than the T-slot cutter does, to allow for a more precise cut. So if we think about the differences between the two tools, the T-slot cutter has the ability to create that T inside of a piece of material, whereas the Woodruff Cutter, it's designed to approach a piece of material from the side to create a key seat. All right, so that would mean that the Woodruff Cutter would require that the spindle be perpendicular to the table, right? Like the head has to be squared up before we use this cutter. So if we're going to use a cutter like this that has a pretty tight tolerance on it, and it's used for a very specific purpose, and that's to make key seats, then we want to make sure that the head of that machine is square to the table, right? Now, the Woodruff Cutter is designed for the creation of keyways, as we've said. So what is a keyway, and what does it look like? So if you look at the width right here, right? So look at the height of this yellow line. So that's the width of the cutting tool right there. Okay, so this width right here is this width across here, right? So the tool cuts 90 degrees from this, what you're seeing here, from what it is right now. Right now we have it sitting vertical, right? So this is how it would go in the machine, but it would cut this slot or this key seat. So this piece of material really would be rotated 90 degrees so that we could cut with the side, or with the periphery of the cutting tool here. So up here, you see kind of a section view, right? Just a broken out. Remember, we talked about broken out section views. So here's a broken out section view of what the shape. Okay, so this is a key that you see from here to here. It's like a half moon. That's the key itself. Okay, from this point right here, the top of the shaft, down here to the top of the shaft here. Okay, so that's the key seat. That's this right here, right there. Okay, so this tool, the Woodruff Cutter, actually creates its shape, right? It creates its diametric shape, and it creates the width right here. So the Woodruff Cutter is a form tool, right? So we're creating this form in the side of our shaft, and then we would be able to use a Woodruff key, right? And that key would line up a mating shaft, let's say, for instance. And keys and keyways are cut into many, many things in the machining world.